All right, we'll get started. Thank you guys so much for being here. We know that it's bad weather out here, so you guys must want this information. And so we'll probably have a smaller crowd, I'm assuming, unless the rain's got people coming late. And so I want you guys to walk out of here having all your questions answered as it relates to wholesaling, or even how do you find property, which is the most important part of investing. So ask questions. Just raise your hand, stand up, ask a lot of questions so that you begin the process of learning how to invest in real estate. This lunch and learn is not going to be enough. We'll probably just speak for an hour. But we do have a coaching program that stand up, Keith will talk about later. And a lot of the people here in the room are part of our platinum coaching. And so we'll talk about that. We've got a boot camp coming up at the end of April, an all-day boot camp. So we have lots of opportunity for you guys to learn how to invest in real estate. Real estate has been very good for me. I started off when I was 17 when I read an encyclopedia that the way to wealth is through real estate investing. And that stayed with me. And so a year out of college, I started buying houses. Kind of self-taught. I did get some information from this gentleman by the name of Carlton Sheets that did some late night infomercials. Has anybody ever heard of him? Okay, you guys are aging yourselves. You guys are still older than me though. And so I just kind of went for it, and I've been buying properties ever since. And so for many years, I'll say 30 years. And just not afraid to take action. So I think that's the biggest thing. We get the information. We don't know how to get started. We're afraid to take action. That's why we put together our coaching program so that we could hold your hand and you could use us as a valuable resource. And so I don't know if I introduced myself. My name is Gregory Bennett. I've got Dana and Eric here. They've been part of our program. Karen is here. Jay is here. Anybody else that's been on our program? They'll be coming. We got some other people. So why don't Dana introduce yourself? So we're primarily going to be talking about wholesaling real estate. These guys have wholesale real estate. Dana, why don't you just introduce yourself and just give us your story on how you got started investing and how you got to our program.
Okay, so my name is Dana. I many years ago, probably talking about dating yourself, probably almost 30 years ago now, I was doing some investing, and I thought I was doing well and fell flat on my face. I fell flat on my face because I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the coaching, I didn't have a mentor. I was just out there doing what I thought, what I heard, and trying to make it work. So coming up to today, about over 2 years ago, I started visiting groups like this, sessions. And I went to many sessions. And I got to Greg's session, Bennett boot camps, and paid attention, and something caught my interest. So I kind of honed in on the leader, which is Greg. And I kind of focused in on him. And I really got the impression that I could trust this guy. So you get information. I was getting information about things, surface type information, but I need to be with somebody I can trust. So I joined the Platinum Coaching Group, and for about 6 to 8 months, about 8 months, nothing happened. I was doing what I was told to do, and nothing happened. So eventually, Greg took us on a shadowing event. You join the group, you'll be going on shadowing events where you go and visit properties. So he invited us to a property in Southeast DC, a condo, opened it up, and told us the story on the property, and it was going to auction. So I said, Greg, I'm going to bid on this. And I bid on it and won the bid. I really didn't expect to win, but I won the bid. Because you get really excited because you want something to happen. Your juices are flowing. So I won the bid, and one thing led to another, and I still have that as a buy and hold. And since then, I've done what we're talking about wholesales. I've done like 3 or 4 wholesales thus far. One was in Kentland, not far in Kentland, and wholesaled that to Greg. And then there were 2 more that I've wholesaled to Greg.
And you bought a couple other buy and holds too.
Yes, and I have 4 buy and holds that I have as well. And that's within a 2-year period. So what I'm saying is that I tried this before and it didn't work because I didn't have the proper teaching. You gotta have the proper teaching, that's important. So that's why I'm here now. That's why I'm sitting on this panel right now, is because this program has done so much for me. It's changed my whole life. You know, I didn't know I was gonna retire. I didn't know I have a plumbing, heating, and air conditioning business, and I want to retire, and didn't know how that was gonna happen. But now I know how that's gonna happen, and it's getting ready to happen soon.
Good. Good for you, Dana. I feel like I owe him about $5 for saying that. Eric, why don't you introduce yourself?
Eric Williams. I'm a real estate agent, investor, been at Realty Solutions. My story is a little bit different. When I got into real estate, I felt like I wanted to get involved with investing, real estate investing, and learn more. The office that I was affiliated with, it wasn't as forthright with sharing the type of information, and it's not their fault. I learned it's my fault. And I met Greg through doing a continuing education for my real estate license. And then his philosophy was just 100% different versus the 2 real estate offices that I've been affiliated with. He talked about this model in terms of selling real estate and then investing into yourself and building wealth through real estate investing. So it caught my attention and it started to really resonate with me. And I followed Greg for some time now. And that's kind of how the wheels got turning for me. Being successful at real estate investing, I do know that it's need versus desire. So you gotta have a need, you have to want it. And my last deal, I would say, was wholesale deal was in September of last year. I wholesaled a probate deal with Greg. It was a lengthy process. Got the property under contract, and I think January or February, beginning of the year, it had tenants in the property. It was a probate deal, and I had to go through that whole, removing the tenants from, the property and stuff. They didn't want to go, easy. So that took a while. It was prolonged a while. Went back and ended up seeing some needing to renegotiate. Had the opportunity to go back in and renegotiate and drop the sales price an additional $20,000, which that was good. And I felt like, hey, it was really easy. I said, well, I should have went down lower. And wholesale the deal to Greg. And, I haven't hit my stride yet. And I'm looking to follow in these guys' footsteps.
Good. And so for those of you guys who are new to wholesaling is simply the act of putting a property under contract. So we're finding a motivated seller that wants to sell. We're putting that property under contract way below market. We use a formula, and I'll talk about the formula in a second. So we put the property under contract below market, and then we assign that contract, those pieces of paper, to another investor. We're assigning the contracts to another investor for a fee. And generally that fee is somewhere around 5% of what we call the after repair value, or the difference between what we put the property under contract for and what we assign a contract to the cash buyer for. And so with wholesaling, we use 2 contracts. We use a purchase and sales agreement, which I call the A to B contract. And that's your purchase and sales agreement. That's between you, the buyer, and the seller. Then we use an assignment agreement, I call the B to C contract, where the assignment agreement is between you, the assignor, and the cash buyer, the assignee. 2 contracts. The A to B, purchase and sales, and then the B to C, the assignment agreement. In that assignment agreement, it's going to say that the assignee is going to take over all the rights and responsibilities of the purchase and sales agreement. And it says that you're going to pay the assignor, the wholesaler, you guys, a certain fee. So for an example, I put a property under contract in Riverdale, Maryland, not too long ago, a few months ago. I put that property under contract. This is Lorraine. We'll get to Lorraine in a minute. So I put a property under contract. I do a lot of postcards, and we do a lot of cold calling as marketing tools. So we'll go over marketing also. But sent out a postcard. They replied to my postcard. I went to the property. I was able to negotiate a certain price. Let's just say I was able to negotiate a price of $150,000. And so I put that property under contract for $150,000. That's the A to B contract. I have a list of cash buyers that I send my deals to, or I'll just call. I was able to find a cash buyer to buy that property for $170,000. And so I put them under contract for $170,000. And actually the assignment agreement says that they're taking over my contract for $150,000, and they're going to pay me a fee for $20,000. And so they agreed. We went under contract. Contract called to close in 3 weeks. We went to closing. My assignment fee was on the settlement statement for $30,000. $20,000, and they were buying the house for $150,000. And so at settlement, there's a line item for me. It said Benetine Properties, or it can say consultant fee, assignment fee, whatever you want that to be. And then they wired me my funds for $20,000, and it all happened in 3 weeks' time. That's an example of wholesale. Any questions about wholesaling, Michelle?
When you put the property under contract, the earnest money, did you put down earnest money, or did you get the earnest money from your cash buyer? How did that work?
And so that's a great question. And so the question is, how do we handle earnest money? And so we handle earnest money in 2 ways. And so on the A to B contract, I put on that contract $1,000 earnest money deposit. I put $1,000 earnest money deposit. I quickly wholesaled that deal. I found the cash buyer pretty quickly. I put them under contract. And on that contract, there's a $5,000 deposit for the assignment fee. So I've got a $5,000 deposit for the assignment. The assignment's $20,000, and there's a $1,000 earnest money deposit on the purchase contract. I had the cash buyer put up both deposits, and they sent both deposits to the title company. So $1,000 on the contract, on the purchase and sales agreement, the A to B, and then $5,000 on the B to C. Cash buyer put both of them up.
Do you put the properties in your name or your LLC name when you first put it under contract?
And so Michelle's asking, what name, what's the buyer's name on the contract?
Mm-hmm.
And so my preference is for you guys to put an LLC on the contract, even though on our contract, the contracts we give our coaching students, there's 2 places on the contract where we can assign. It gives us the right to assign the contract. One of the first lines on the contract says that we're the buyer. So Benetine Properties LLC is the buyer, and then it says and or assignee, meaning either I'm the buyer or whomever I assign the contract to is the buyer. And then I think in paragraph 6 or 7, it also says that we have a right to assign the contract. So my preference would be for you guys to use an LLC for the buyer, but it also says that you can assign that contract to another cash buyer and they can be the buyer. Any other questions so far?
And signing the contract with the seller, what is the strategy for, actually, I'm thinking that, if you're in an LLC, is that better when, let's say you have a seller that finds out that you're gonna get 20,000, that's actually going to you, and then they want to back out of the contract, have you ever run into that, or do you have a move for that? To avoid that?
I don't have a move for it. And so the answer to that is, the contract, the A to B contract, the purchase and sales contract that the seller signs is a legal binding contract. It says on that contract in 2 places that you have a right to assign the contract. Now in most cases, the seller never even knows that you're going to assign it, but that contract gives you the right to assign it. So even if they do find out, it's no problem. It's in the contract that they've already signed and agreed to. So nothing about wholesaling is illegal. Everything is transparent. It says and/or signee for the buyer. Who's the buyer? Benetton Properties and/or signee. And then it has a separate contract that says a separate paragraph that says you have a right to assign the contract.
So I hear you talk about wholesale. What about, is it a different process if you are interested in buying multi-unit properties?
No. And so whether you're wholesaling a residential property, multifamily property, commercial property, a business, it's all the same. You can wholesale, you can put a property on a contract and then assign the rights to the contract. As a matter of fact, when we're buying multifamily, like really big multifamily properties, 100-unit buildings, it's all really a wholesale deal. Because you're going to put that property on the contract, and then primarily you're going to have another investor, put up the financing. Now you may be part of that financing team because you found the property, but it's all wholesale. So you can wholesale anything. You can wholesale a business, anything.
And for units that's not commercial, that's 5 or below, do you still feel like you need investors?
If it's, let's just say it's 4 units or below, yeah. You don't need, you have to have, in wholesaling, you have to have a cash buyer. Because if not, if you buy it yourself, that's not wholesaling. You're just gonna buy it and hold it, or buy it and flip it. But whenever you're wholesaling anything, you have to have other investors involved. So you're gonna put it on the contract, and then you're gonna assign that contract to another entity. That's what wholesaling is. You're not closing on the deal, somebody else is. You're not selling real estate. We don't sell real estate. When we wholesale, we assign contracts. And so that's what wholesaling is. And so you need another party. So part of wholesaling is having a cash buyers list. And so you've got to establish who your cash buyers are. Dana, give us an example of, you bought that one property in Marshall Heights, and then you wholesale. Was Kentland your first one?
Yeah, Kent Town, yeah.
Kent Town was your
My
first wholesale deal?
Yeah.
So run us through how you found that property, and then how you went about wholesaling that deal.
So, with the first one, Kent Town Drive is the name of the street. What I do a lot of drive for dollars, if everybody knows what that means, when you go out and you look for properties. Write the address down, send it back to my partner, which is my son. He gets the information, he searches it, gets the information, and then we send out letters. So through that process, I got my first wholesale deal, and was excited, but didn't know what to do because I had no experience. So I called Greg and I said, Greg, I need you to come and vet this deal, take care of it. I don't know what to do. I don't want to blow it. I was scared because it had like 8 months had passed, and nothing had happened. So I got really excited and I didn't want to blow it. So Greg said, okay, he came out and spoke with the motivated seller and got in the contract right there on the spot. So
So I negotiated the deal,
Mhm.
and I thought I was doing a good job negotiating. And so I negotiated the deal. I put her on the contract, and we start to walk to our cars. And he called me out there to help him. We get to the cars. He says, "You could have did a better job."
So I had one number in mind, but Greg negotiated a different number. So I just thought I'd mention it to him. And so,
He could have kept that to himself.
so I wholesale Greg that deal.
And he made money, but I guess he wanted to make more money. So he told me I did a bad job, and I came out there for him.
So, and what I do is I wholesale and then I purchase to hold. And that's how I acquired the ones that I have. The buying homes that I have, the properties I have is from wholesale. Wholesaling is beautiful. When you all do it, you'll see. It's once you get that property under contract, there's nothing else to do. So if he's my cash buyer, it's on him. I pass the ball, I hand the ball to him, and I go and sit down and watch him try to get to the finish line. And then when he gets to the finish line, I say, okay, let me get mine. Then he gets mine.
So you're just getting paid for being a middle person, you're not like fixing the property and doing all of that?
So the beauty of, good question. The beauty of wholesaling is you're not dealing with contractors. You're not dealing with lenders. No one's checking your credit. You're not putting up any of your own cash. That's the beauty of wholesale.
How do you, instead of driving for dollars, how do you find motivated sellers?
Good question. And so driving for dollars is one way. I think the best ways are calling. So you can purchase lists of motivated sellers. You can purchase these lists from list vendors and from our CRM that most of us use called PropStream. So you can purchase lists and you can call that list. Or what a lot of us do is we hire virtual assistants. We primarily use virtual assistants out of the Philippines, and they make the phone calls for us. And so we give them a list. We pay them around $7 an hour, something like that, $7, $8 an hour, and they call every day. And there's we can basically predict how many deals we're going to get by how many calls we have our VAs make. And so even with wholesaling, we can make it a very predictable business. By somewhere around, for every 600 calls that they make, you should get about 2 appointments. And then you need about 40 to 50 appointments to close one deal. And that, for various reasons, it's that ratio. Now you can make a lot of calls every day because we use what's called a dialer, and there's different types of dialers. One is mojosales.com, and they'll dial for you, and they can make Mojo dials. They have what's called a triple dialer, where they can dial up to about 300. They can make about 300 dials an hour, and then your VA is just answering the dials that a potential sellers, they're picking up the phone. The rest, they're leaving messages, an automated message, and then they keep dialing. And if 2 people dial it, what happens, Keith, when 2 people pick up at the same time, what happens?
So that second number that comes through, they're going to get a callback message saying something like, "Thank you for calling Bennett Realty. Hello? I can't hear you. I'm going to call you right back." And it puts that second number back in line so that you don't miss that dial.
And then postcards is very predictable also. So we send out postcards too. And then, so we know the analytics on how many, what we call KPIs, on how many postcards to the right targeted audience, you should get appointments. And then from those appointments, you should be closing deals. So those are, and then a lot of them, like Dana talked about buying his first buy and hold from an auction. So we do go to auctions also to get deals. And then the other thing is networking and branding. Just networking, letting everybody know that this is what you do. I always use Gary. He branded himself in his church. Stand up, Gary. Let everybody see who you are.
What's up, Gary?
And so networking and branding, there was a young lady in his church that mother passed away. And she was the personal representative of the estate. Now, we talk about probate, and I think these guys talked about probate. So probate is a great way of getting deals also. And so what happens with probate is when one passes away, they go to the probate office and they open up an estate. And it's public information. And so investors use that information to see if there's real property in the estate. If there's real property in the estate, then they'll either call the personal representative because their information has to be there. They'll either call or send postcards and letters because their address has to be there. And so they get bombarded with investors calling them. But most of us get our deals, our probate deals, because we branded ourselves. And so even though this young lady, she was getting postcards, she was getting phone calls, she went with someone that she knew. She knew, she liked, she trusted, and that was Gary, because he had branded himself in his church. And so she went to him, and then he put her on the contract, and then he wholesaled that deal. And so branding, networking, letting everybody know. You guys got to let everyone know that you guys are an investor, that you buy houses for cash and you buy them fast. Everybody has to be able to say that. Now, whether you can personally do that or not doesn't matter. You're going to wholesale that deal to me or to Dana or to Eric. Jay buys houses. Gary buys houses. We can buy houses. So you might not be able to, but you can put them under contract, and we'll teach you how to put them under contract. I tell you, we got the coaching program, and then we'll find the cash buyers for you, and you can make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. But you've got to be able to say that in many different ways that I'm an investor, I buy houses for cash, I buy houses fast. You got to be able to say that. And then whether you can today or not doesn't matter. You can still wholesale. There's going to be one day that you are going to be the cash buyer. And that just needs to be your goal, because your ultimate goal needs to be to buy and hold real estate. They talked about buying and holding real estate. That's your ultimate goal. We only wholesale to get the cash to then buy and hold to build wealth. Did you have a question, Michelle?
Yeah, well, it was back to what you were saying. You were saying get a list of motivated sellers, right? What is considered a motivated seller? Right?
So examples of who can give me examples? Some of my coaching students are here. Give me some examples of who a motivated seller. Who's motivated to sell? Who's motivated to sell? Give me an example. Divorcees, that's a good list.
Less than 30 days.
Huh?
Somebody gonna sell their house less than 30 days.
Someone who says that absolutely wants to sell their house in 30 days.
Pre-foreclosures.
Yeah.
Someone is getting ready to foreclose. So pre-foreclosures. So everything that you guys are getting ready to tell me, there's actual list that you guys can purchase. So there's a pre-foreclosure list that you can purchase. It's one of our best lists that we purchase and we call. Divorcees, there's a list for that. Who else? Who else is motivated to sell?
People that's moving out of the country.
Yeah, out-of-state people, tired landlord. They're basically absentee owners. And so an absentee owner is an owner who owns the property but doesn't live there. They're either renting the property out or the house is vacant or abandoned. They sell their houses, they own their houses every 3 to 4 years, and then they want to sell. And so they're tired of being landlords. Who can tell me why they're tired of being landlords? They don't get payments. What else?
Slumlords.
They're not tired of being slumlords. They're happy to be a slumlord.
I be ready.
Ready to retire.
Well, not really. But yeah, they're just really tired of being a landlord, tired of dealing with tenants, tired of the payments, tired of the upkeep. I had a lady who owned a property in Baltimore, whose husband had passed away. She lived in Upper Marlboro, so that's kind of considered not necessarily out of state absentee, but she was just tired of coming up and down, the highway, dealing with the house, 4-bedroom, 1-bath house in Baltimore. She called me, and in my head, my number was, I'll buy it. Once I looked at it, I'll buy it for $50,000. So I let her speak first. I said, do you have an idea what you want to sell the house for? And she said $35,000. And I got excited, but I didn't show my excitement. And I said, well, I was thinking 25,000. And guess what she said?
Okay.
Let's do it.
Wow.
So I gave her $25,000 at a 4-bedroom, 1-bath house. Tenant was already paying market rent.
Yeah, I got a question about that. When you analyze deals like that, you kind of know in your mind what's the ARV, what the resale price can be when she told you the 25,000.
Well, yeah, she told me 35. Yeah. And so I already had in mind that at that time, this was about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer, the as repair value on that property was about maybe 140. And when I looked at the property, it needed a little bit of work, but I didn't have to do any work because the tenants were there and they were happy. And so in my mind, I was like, I'll buy it for 50. And that's like less than 50% of the after repair value, which we buy at 70%. So I said, it's Baltimore. I want to buy it with equity in it. I'm not going to get a lot of equity. No appreciation. So I was like, I'll buy it for 50. When she said 35, if I would have said, okay, I'll buy it for 35, that would have been too easy, right? When you're negotiating, you don't want easy. You want a little bit of pain. You got to be a little bit of pain in a negotiation. Vaughn, you hear me when I said that, Vaughn? Huh? You heard me? So in every negotiation, there needs to be pain. Somebody say pain.
Pain.
Somebody say it one more time.
Pain.
So I had to establish some pain. So when she said 35, if I'd have said 35, no pain. You guys with me?
Right.
Vaughn, say no pain.
No pain.
25, a little bit of pain. But really it wasn't. I came out and said 25. She said, okay, no really pain. But we signed the contract anyway. I walked out thinking, I cut myself short about $5,000, $10,000. But we live with our mistakes, right? You guys feel me?
Okay.
But anyway, any other questions as far as how you're finding your properties?
I have a question for you. Why would a seller opt to do a wholesale with you versus, traditional market?
I think in the case that we're talking about, she was stressed out. She didn't want to go through that whole process. If she had gone through that whole process, she would have had to do some repairs to the property. She already had a tenant in place. She wanted to sell it quickly, even though there was no mortgage on the property. She just wanted to get rid of it. And so sometimes we have motivated sellers that are in that situation. They just want to get rid of it. Or sometimes we have motivated sellers that want to hurry up and get to the money. Or they're behind in their mortgage and the house is getting ready to go to foreclosure. And so there's a number of reasons why they just want to sell. Divorcees just want to sell quickly and get the money. And so there's a number of reasons why they're motivated to sell.
Yeah, question. Like in that scenario, like I'm an investor. I come across deals that people want to sell at market value, and I realize that those properties that want to sell at market, these realtors have to have these houses like move-in ready. And what you were saying about the people want to sell their house and get rid of it is not move-in ready, so they can't sell to somebody if the house is not fixed up, don't have the marble countertops and all the beautiful kitchen.
Yes, they may not have the money to fix it up. And so they have to sell to investors. And they're willing to accept less.
If you're a realtor, right, and you're trying to wholesale, do you have to, because you're licensed, I know you have to disclose, but you don't have to tell them that your property is worth, do you have to tell them what it's worth because you're licensed?
I do.
Okay,
I do. I like to tell them.
okay,
And so you have to disclose.
right,
And so on our contracts, it already has a paragraph where you're disclosing.
okay.
So you do have to disclose. And then sometimes I will tell them. And so I had a house, this was a few years ago, in Temple Hills. And she called me, it was a listing appointment. She wanted to sell the property. The property needed a lot of work. She didn't want to go through the work. She didn't want anyone in her house. So I said, look, I can list the property. I don't remember the numbers, but let's just say I said, I'll list the property and you'll make $50,000, or I'll buy the property, you'll save commission, but you'll only make, let's just say, $30,000. And she opted to make $20,000 less because she didn't want to go through, all that she would have had to go through to sell the house. And she wanted to sell it quickly. And so I wrote on the contract that she's not represented by an agent. I disclosed on the contract that I was an agent. I gave her the right to hire an attorney. So I just wrote all that on the contract. Now, all that's boilerplate on our investor contract, but I just wanted to disclose everything. So I didn't want anything to happen. And she agreed to it all. We closed, and I got a hard money loan. I bought the property and we closed in 3 weeks, and she was happy. And so as an agent, you guys got to be really careful. When you're wholesaling, you've got to disclose that you're an agent. As a matter of fact, one thing really quickly is in the state of Maryland, Maryland passed a bill, I think it's Bill 300, where I think starting in October, you have to have a license if you're going to wholesale 2 or more deals. You have to have a real estate license.
2 or more deals at one time, or 2 or more deals throughout that year?
Throughout a 12-month period.
Okay.
Yeah, throughout a 12-month period.
So in other words, they gonna get in your pocket. You're gonna end up paying them anyway, because if you're in this business to make money, you want to do 2 or more deals that year. So they're gonna get in your pocket, right?
Yeah. I mean, my advice would be, my advice has always been, and the reason I even got my license many years ago, I started off as an investor with no intentions on selling real estate, but because I just wanted access to the MLS and learn how to, do my own thing, I just got my license. And so that's my advice, just to go ahead and get your license. Is there loopholes in that? Is there ways around that? Like anything else? Absolutely. You can get around that, but it's just a lot easier just to get your license.
Okay, yeah. Right, I know it's a lot easier to have a license, but I did not know to wholesale more than 2 properties a year that you have to have a license.
That's new.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, just look it up. I think it's Maryland Bill, it's either 300 or 301. Just Google that.
Okay, I didn't know
That's why you come to these lunch and learns.
It's 301, but it's still in committee. It hasn't been approved.
Yeah, I think it passed one phase, but it hasn't passed the second. If it does, I think it's October, but I think it's going to pass. And it may or may not. But it just one of the key tools for an investor is having access to the MLS. Even though there's other tools out here, PropStream has it as well, that you can actually pull comps and you don't have to be licensed agent. But if it's in committee, if it does pass, then my advice would be, just get your license.
Okay, one other question. That I definitely want to ask Dana. Okay, when you're wholesaling, get a property, under contract, you wholesaling the property, okay, and you're gonna to another investor. Now, with this property, do you just like choose one or two investors, you know, you want to buy this property or whatever? Or do you, and I'm asking this because I work for investors, I work for Brothers Buy Houses, I do open houses all the time. But when they get a property under contract, they do an open house, that's what they have to do. So it's a bunch of investors coming to see the property. And they only have 24 hours to put in their offer, right? They only have 24 hours to put in their offer. And I guess they give it to the property that hires them, that's offer. I'm not on that thing, so I don't know. So when you are wholesaling the property, how do those other people get to see the property that you put under contract?
How do you say other people, like what, other investors, cash buyers?
Right, absolutely. The investors or cash buyers, right.
So there's different ways you can do it, and you want to have your
But
list
how do
of,
you do it? I'm asking how do
what
you
I do is this is my cash buyer.
So you
So-
buy all your houses?
Every last one of them. See, because there's a reason for that. There's more than one reason. One is that, and probably the main reason is because I really feel like I owe this man something. Because I would not have been in my position if I didn't join this group and he didn't get me to where I'm at.
Okay, so he.
Don't be hating. Don't be hating.
He's your man to get everything.
Yeah, he is. And the second reason, go back to the reason I joined the group in the first place, because I know I can trust him. See, that means everything to me. And I know when I bring it to him, he gonna make it work. He's not gonna let me fall off the edge. He's not gonna do that.
Okay, so you're not gonna have like several properties?
I know several what, properties or several
Right,
buyers?
several properties at one time. Okay, because like I said, with four brothers, I'm doing open houses all the time. I'm doing one in Parksville, Maryland today at 2:00.
Mhm.
So anyway.
Okay, let me just make, let me,
Several, you buy several properties?
no, well, let me just say this in kind of in general. And the point that you're making is well taken, and you're correct. And so the proper way of wholesaling is to have a cash buyers list, like I said, and put a property under contract, and then reach out to your cash buyers list. That's the proper way of doing it.
Right.
Now, what Dana is saying is, and he's right also, you do want to do business with people that you know, like, and trust. Because I have a story where one of my real estate agents wholesaled a deal to somebody they didn't know. This was a few years ago. They didn't know this person. They did what you're suggesting, and what you're suggesting is right. What Four Brothers does is right. But he wholesaled the deal to someone he knew, and he never got paid on it. He never got paid on it. In part was his fault because he didn't fill out the assignment agreement correctly. That cash buyer who didn't know him, he didn't know them, like them, trust them. They get to settlement, and he calls the title company and says, "Did you wire my money?" And they said, "No, you weren't on the settlement statement." And the cash buyer was like, we didn't have a written agreement. And he showed me the agreement, and he didn't have the proper tools, didn't have the proper agreement. He never got paid. He was expecting $20,000. He never got paid. Then he joined my coaching program. And that's a true story. But your point is well taken. And so the proper way to do it is you find a property, you have your cash buyers list. Four Brothers uses what I have, this tool called Investor Lift. So they send it out to Investor Lift and all their cash buyers, which I do as well. And then all the cash buyers that are on Investor Lift, you know, if you're having an open house, then they'll show up and then make an offer. That's the proper way of doing it. but you want to ensure, at least starting out, that you're gonna get paid. And so that's why even myself, I've got a small handful of cash buyers that I'll put a property on the contract, I'll reach out to them. If they don't want it, then I'll put it on investor lift.
Then you put it on what?
There's a tool called Investor Lift,
Oh,
lift or lift?
LIFT.
Yes.
Investor, I'll put it, but I will reach out to a handful of people that I like doing business with, that I know they're true cash buyers, that I know that I don't even need, like, we have a relationship. I don't even need paperwork with them. Sometimes we don't, which is incorrect, but that's the trust that we have. And I know it's going to move fast. They're reliable. Some of them you guys probably know, and we just do business that way. But the proper way of doing it is the way you're suggesting, and the way that they do it. They don't have personal relationship. They just throw it out there, but they know that they do the paperwork the correct way, and they know that once their documents, like ours, is signed and that cash buyer doesn't deliver, they're either going to get that deposit or they're going to sue them.
But one thing too, they don't tell the seller that they are wholesaling to somebody else, you know, because.
But I would imagine that it's in their contract. It's in their contract.
Probably in the contract.
And it could be, I haven't seen their contract, it could be small print, but it's in their contract. Did you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I was listening to the scenario. I did a deal. It was a senior deal. It was a couple that they wanted to move out of their house. It was in Falls Church, Virginia. And getting back to the buyer thing, the buyer that I was working with, he wasn't performing. And he was getting frustrated because the couple couldn't find a place to live. It was a deal that they had to move to a new house. And then when I found another buyer, he jumped on it and got them a house that they liked, and they sold that house, and then we wholesaled that deal, and I made $30K on that deal. And I just want to throw that out there that, you know, I think senior like, you know, people that's like seniors, they're going in the nursing homes, or they can't live in those houses with the steps, they need a ranch, one level house. Those are good deals.
Absolutely. The gentleman in the back.
Yeah, you mentioned that if that bill passes, we should get a real estate license. Do you have to be affiliated? Does that bill require you to be affiliated with a broker?
Absolutely.
You have to be affiliated. With
Bennett Realty Solutions. Write that down.
Sounds like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you do virtual wholesaling at all? And which do you think is better, virtual or local?
I think local by far. Local by far, because, you know, you could go touch the property. Virtual is good. Virtual is real good. But the guys that I see doing virtual, they've got to get somebody local to like hang the lock boxes and do all those kinds of things. Virtual wholesaling is good, but I've never seen anyone that was what I would consider a top wholesaler. Top wholesaler meaning making about a minimum of $100,000 a month. They don't wholesale virtually. I've never seen anyone go from, you know, that are doing 5, 10, 15, 20 deals a month. They pick one area, sometimes two, and they just focus on the marketing for those two areas. Virtual wholesaling, kind of what I would consider kind of onesie-twosie. You can do that, and there's tools to do that. If you say to me, you have a property in Toledo, Ohio, I could find you cash buyers there. But then it's just going to take me some time to, you know, find someone to like do the lockbox and maybe do an open house, you know, those kinds of things. So I think if you really want to scale your business, I think you put together a marketing strategy in one or two areas and just kill it. Now, metropolitan area like this, like we're here, lots of competition. You do well kind of sort of rural areas or less highly populated areas because there's little to no competition. But there are a ton of deals here every single day. Probably not a day goes by that I don't get pitched a deal every single day. Now, obviously, like 95% of them, the numbers don't work, but there's lots of deals in this area.
So you mentioned you recommended getting a license. So can you talk about the benefits or elaborate on for investors why you should a license?
And so the benefits of a real estate license initially, because we're talking about wholesaling, it'll give you a right to wholesale more than one property a year. But the reason I got my real estate license was I wanted access to the multiple listing service, the MLS. Plus, the real estate agents that I was working with as a young investor, I was in my early 20s, they weren't moving fast enough, as fast as I needed them to move. So I kind of wanted to put it all on me. But I think the number one reason you get your license is we talk a lot about marketing. And I just said I get pitched every day. And I just said probably 95 of the deals I get pitched, the numbers don't work, but those sellers are still motivated to sell. And so if I have a real estate license, it might not work for me as an investor, but it will work for me as an agent, and I can list the property. And our average commission in our brokerage is probably a little over $10,000. And so that's almost like the equivalent of a wholesale deal. And if you have your real estate license, you can then list that property and get a commission. There's nothing wrong with making $10,000 on a commission or $12,000 on a commission. Do you want $10,000 right now?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Get your license.
Do your realtors work with wholesalers, like they find deals for wholesalers?
No.
Oh, they don't?
No. Where my agent? Any of my agents in here? Okay.
Yeah, because if you give them, say you have a deal and it's market value and only a realtor can sell it for the price, then they.
No, I mean, so what we teach is, and so if my real estate agent finds a good investment deal, why would they give it to you? And they can keep it for themselves. And so Lorraine found a deal. Lorraine, tell them, introduce yourself and tell them about the deal on, was that Douglas Street?
Douglas.
Yeah, tell them about that.
Hello,
So
everyone.
Lorraine is one of our agents.
Hello, everyone. I am one of Greg's best agent investors. Say it loud, Greg, but anyhow. But Greg and I did a deal in which I was referred to a property. And did it work? Did you buy that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
That was one of my best flips in the last couple of years.
Oh, wow. But yeah, and it was a terrible property. When we went in it, initially the roof was falling down.
Cabinets were falling down.
Cabinets was falling down, and it was actually someone that I know, mom, living in the property.
Lady was living in the property.
He couldn't encourage her to get out because it was her mom's property. But she was suffering from cancer, and she wouldn't leave his property, no matter what he said or what he did. It was just really horrifying. And he was like, I just need you to bring somebody in and see what they can do. And I brought Greg over, and Greg came over and took a quick look at the property and assessed it. And all I did was put a lockbox on and sit for my money. I don't know. But it was so easy and it was so seamless. It was hurtful because it was actually someone living in hurtful because it was someone living in there. And she could only go, the living room, Greg? Was it the living room? She only had one area in which she could live in that whole house because everything was completely unusable except this one living room. And
she lived there, but her son got her out of the property. And so Lorraine made $18,000 on that deal that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
She made $18,000. She made 6% of what I bought the property for. So I bought the property for $300. She said, I want 6%. So she got 6%. Now, if she would have listed the property, she probably would have got 3%, right? Mm-hmm. She'd have got 3 and the other agent would have gotten 3. And so she doubled her money because she knew, she knew her numbers, she knew investing. And so I bought it for $300. I renovated that property. A house 3 doors down sold for $600. It was on Downing Street. A house sold for $600, like 3 doors down. Now this was at the height of the recent market during the pandemic, about 2 years ago. Actually, Dana did the HVAC on that property, right? So you ran ducts and put in the inside unit, outside unit. And so I put it on the market for $600, got bidded up to $650 and sold it for $650. I made an extra $50,000 that I thought I wasn't going to make.
How much did you spend?
Good question. I only spent I should have spent 120 on that, but I think I spent around 90. I would have spent 80, but Dana overcharged me. Dana's a tough negotiator. No, he didn't overcharge me. I think I spent about 90 on it. And so I say I should have spent about 120, because generally when I'm renovating properties, I want to spend about 20% of the after repair value. And the after repair value on that one, I thought was 600. So my budget was somewhere around 110, 120, but it only came up, we were under budget there because we didn't do any additions or anything, I don't think. We didn't do any additions. We just basically renovated the house the way it was. We just put it back together. And it was an interior unit, so I didn't have to do insulation on the sides or extra windows on the side, anything like that. So that was a good flip.
Say if someone were to join vendor agency solutions and they're doing wholesale deals, would they have to be charged any fees or part of the deal?
No.
And he paid very quick, right? Soon as it's done, Greg had your check in the mail, like ching ching.
So you say that your realtors don't work with wholesalers, but we give the realtors market value. But in my business, we do work with realtors. We got it where if we give a market value lead to a realtor, they will give us like a referral fee.
You mean a referral fee on the commission?
Yes.
Okay, don't say that too loud.
Yeah, exactly.
We are recording this. We are recording this.
Okay.
Okay, well, just to let you know, can I give you a little secret? They're not supposed to.
Right.
Okay, realtors, what was the realtor's name again? Real estate agents aren't allowed to give referral fees. Okay, so don't say that out loud. Okay. All right. So no, my preference would be for my agents to wholesale, like Lorraine wholesale that deal. That would be my preference, for her to be the wholesaler. For her to recognize I could make double the money wholesaling than I can listing the property. And she did that. And so that would be my preference for my agents, them to build wealth, for them to take that money and then buy and hold, a property. That would be my preference.
Because you come across a lot of home sellers that want to sell at market value, and basically you can't wholesale that.
Yeah, and so that's why you should get your license so that you can list it. Even if you only list the properties that you're going after as an investor, as an investor, you can make a commission on that. Because, and you probably don't know, and I'm not picking on you, but the way you're doing it, getting a commission from that agent, it's illegal. You probably never get. Huh? Okay. We can call it a referral fee. We can call it whatever you want to call it. It's illegal. Okay. Agents aren't allowed to give referral fees. They give you a gas card, but they can't give you cash. And so my suggestion for you is just to get your license. Because now, whatever percentage you're getting, if you had your license, you could probably get double that or even more. Okay. All right, one other thing I want to mention really quickly, and then we'll kind of do a review. You guys asking really great questions. Is as a wholesaler, like any other business, you got to know your numbers. It's all a numbers game. Wholesaling is a numbers game. It's a word problem. If you can get the math right, you'll make a lot of money. If you don't get the math right, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're either not going to do a deal or you're going to shortchange yourself on a deal. Dana, give us a quick story about Wintergreen, and give us real numbers.
So, Wintergreen is a property that I was, happened to be in Staples, taking care of the fair. Staples get ready to close. And I overheard a conversation, and the conversation caught my attention. The guy was at the computer talking loud on the cell phone. I went outside to my truck. I was finishing my business, went outside to my truck, and the spirit said, go back in. So I went back in. He was still on the phone. I just waited and waited. He got on the phone, and I approached him. And he was in the process of losing his home. He was in the process of giving his home up. He had lived in the home for over a year, had a hole in the roof. I didn't know all this at the time. So anyway, I said, well, should we go and see the property? And he said, well, you should have called me a week ago because, or you should have called me last year because somebody has been hounding me about the property for over a year. I said, are you under contract? He said, no. I said, well, can I see the property? And we went, I took a look at the property, and it was at night, and he didn't have the key. I said, well, get the key and I'll meet you back here first thing in the morning. Went back first thing the next morning, and he opened the door. When he opened the door, he hadn't been there in a year and a half. And in that time, a hole had come in somehow, wind damage had blew a hole in the roof, and water had been pouring in for a year and a half. So we opened the door, and there was so much stuff in this house, I couldn't even get in the house, but it was mold everywhere. And he said,
so that's opportunity. Okay, that is not a bad thing. Some of you guys are going, oh, that's opportunity. Okay, that's negotiating.
So I didn't have to negotiate that, and that's negotiation. He said out of his mouth, said, oh, well, I guess it's not worth it now. It was not worth that amount of money. Now I guess we're gonna have to go down on the price. He said that. So I just said, yeah, I guess you're right. and so one thing led to another, and it was over a six-figure wholesale deal.
Yeah, that's huge. 6 figures?
Can you be more specific?
Yeah, that's about.
It was over $100,000 wholesale.
Wow.
Then you parlayed that into Shawnee on in Forest Heights.
Correct.
And give them just
Wow.
You made what on that?
Well, that was a nice wholesale deal. Maybe we just leave it at that. It was a really good.
Say the number, Dana.
I
Talk, man. You know, say it.
He trying to get out of here.
It was a really nice wholesale deal. Really was.
So he had two in the less than a year. Within months, he had 2 wholesale deals. This is not typical, you guys. Don't run out there and say, well, Greg Bennett said I'm gonna make over $100,000 on a wholesale. But he had 2 deals in a very, very short period of time where he made over $100,000 wholesale fee on 2 different.
That's great.
Where he didn't put the property, he didn't have to go out and get a loan. He didn't show any credit. He didn't put up any money. Okay. And so that's the power of wholesale. And that's why you guys see 4 Brothers, you guys see Express Home Buyers, and you guys see, what's the other one? All of those guys, they were once flippers. They're all wholesalers now because you reduce your risk and you're able to get $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 wholesale fee. I average $30,000 wholesale fee. Why would I flip? Why would I go through the aggravation of contractors and delays and change orders and all that, where I can flip a property? You can flip a property and make $90,000 in a 6-month period, or you can wholesale a deal and make $30,000 in 3 weeks. Which one are you doing? I mean, seriously, that's a real question. What are you doing?
3 weeks.
You gonna make 30,000 in 3 weeks, no stress, no risk? Or you gonna make $90,000 in 6 months, but more like 9 months, and make $90,000 dealing with contractors, and nothing wrong with that. Which one do you do? Seriously, somebody tell me.
With the 90,000, you gotta get loans for that, to flip the property.
What else you gotta get? You
Good
gotta get
contract.
loans,
Good contract.
Afraid inspectors.
permits, inspections.
Appraisal.
So you gotta decide, you get a property, you gotta decide which one you wanna do. I will say that if you don't, because you wanna maximize your opportunity. You're only getting access to 2 properties a year, then maybe you might wanna flip that property and maximize that opportunity and go through, or you can really get good at marketing and getting deals and wholesale a number of properties, right? And so that's what Four Brothers is doing now. They used to only flip. Express Home Buyers, they used to only flip. They won't touch a flip now.
Right.
Well, they do
They're
that
wholesalers.
like the graders do.
They wholesale.
No, they got it down to a science now.
Yeah.
How do you determine how much you're going to wholesale the property for?
Good question. All right, so you guys, on number 5 on your handout, number 5 on your handout, we use a formula. The formula is called the Mayo formula, MAO, maximum allowable offer. It's number 5. As a wholesaler, we're taking 65% of the after repair value. We're going to take 65% of the after repair value. We're going to subtract out the repair costs, and that's going to give us our MAO, our maximum allowable offer. That's how we determine. For example, break this down. For example, you got a pen?
It's number 3. Page 2.
It's number 3? Or,
The 60 days wholesale.
on page 2 is number 5. So we take $300,000 as a after repair value, what the house is going to be worth once it's fixed up. We take $300,000 is our ARV. We're going to take 65% of that. That gives us $195, right? And then we're going to subtract out the repair costs. And let's say that the repair cost is $60,000. So we're going to take the 195 minus 60. That's going to give us 135. That's the number. That's our maximum allowable offer that we're going to make to the motivated seller, 135. 65% of the after repair value minus $60,000 in repair costs. That's how you determine what you're going to offer. And then, like I said, you guys, you're not going to get it in just one setting. We've got coaching programs. We got a boot camp coming up that, we go through all this again. Michelle?
Oh, well, no, I was gonna say, if that's your maximum offer, when you negotiate, you don't want to start there.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You just know that's what's in your head.
That's your number. If you have to start speaking, your offer is going to be a lot lower than that. We want, when we're negotiating, we want that seller to speak first. Mr. and Miss Seller, you have an idea of what you want to sell the house for. We're hoping they say, in this case, 135, but they may say 150. In most cases, they do. We got to get them down to 135. And so the easiest thing is to say, well, I was thinking 120, and here's why. You tell them about all the things you're going to have to do to the house. I was thinking 120. You said 150. Easiest negotiating tactic is what?
Meet you halfway.
Can we meet halfway? If we meet halfway, you're at your number. Okay? So we got to, and then if that doesn't work, you just keep negotiating. And there's a lot of tools that we teach on how to get down to our number. But we got to get down to our number. Because the number one mistake investors make is what?
Pay too
They buy the properties wrong. That's the number one mistake that investors make. They don't do the math. Or they do the math and they don't follow what the math gives them. And they don't trust their numbers. And so you got to do the numbers. Okay, how are we going to, let's flip the page. On page 3, here's what you guys need to do really quickly. I want you guys to identify an area, a marketing area. Most of you guys are local to here. And so what's your area going to be that you're going to focus, your targeted area, your target market? What's the area? And so we want to find an area where you can buy low, put properties under contract low, and then sell high. And so that would be older neighborhoods. We want neighborhoods that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. In DC, 100 years old, where you can buy low and sell high. And so like I was just in Congress Heights. Where in Congress Heights right now, you can put a property under contract for about $250 and renovate it and sell it for almost $500. Those are the type of neighborhoods we want, okay? Capitol Heights, inside the Beltway.
Are you talking about like neighborhoods before they like are gentrified?
Yes, yes.
How about the process of?
Huh?
How about in the process of?
And in process of gentrification. See,
Because
the problem
values
with
are going up.
values are going up. Yeah, we want older neighborhoods where you can, buy low, sell high. Is Bowie, is that a good neighborhood? Huh? What about Seton Pleasant or Palmer Park?
Good.
Huh?
Why is Bowie not a good neighborhood?
But it's mostly built up. I used to live there. I mean, that's say you can't get it, but it's mostly built up.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a good deal, but for the most part, it's a new city. I mean, it's fairly new. A lot
I
of
think maybe like
developments
Waldorf
can't buy
might,
low.
Waldorf might be good.
Yeah.
Waldorf is, used to be okay, but now it's not. Values are going up in Waldorf.
What about like Indian Head,
Yeah.
stuff like, cities like that in southern Maryland?
Yeah. You can get something, because they're older, you can get something low that fit the numbers. It's all about the numbers, you guys. Investing is all about the numbers. What'd you say?
You mentioned Baltimore.
I didn't mention, but yeah, Baltimore is wonderful.
Yeah.
Any city like Baltimore, DC, Philadelphia, where houses are 100 years old, 70 years old, you're gonna have one house that's worth $200,000 that's renovated, and right next door the house might be worth $30,000. And so those are the neighborhoods. So any city, that's why a lot of us go up to Baltimore to primarily buy and hold.
I think different. It depends on the home sellers, feel for the house. Like there's no feeling there. They don't want to be dealing with the house. They're just sick and tired of the house. I don't care what area it is. It depends on them. You know?
It depends on them,
Yeah.
and so you have some one-offs. Have I bought properties in Bowie? Yes. So you have some one-offs. But if we're trying to build a big wholesaling business or real estate investment business, and we're spending marketing dollars, we want to spend our marketing dollars in neighborhoods that we get the best return on our investment. We don't want to spend money like in Bowie where there's a lot of like one-off deals. There's not as many motivated sellers. There's not as many foreclosures. You know, we want to spend over here where we know our money's going to go a lot further. We're going to get more appointments. And so that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Are you going to get a referral next week from somebody who says there's someone whose house is in pre-foreclosure and, you know, it's in Capitol Hill? Yeah, you'll get that. But am I going to market there? No. But you'll get some referrals there. You're not going to get one there next week?
Wait, Capitol Hill?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on.
No, be positive.
Maybe
Positive. You might.
distressed properties mainly. Like you said, Capitol Heights, Commerce Heights, Commerce Heights, Capitol Heights. I don't recall the area, but it's an area in Southern Maryland where I drove out there a couple of times, and you could actually find homes for like $50,000. Now, they were built in the early 1900s, like you were saying, and everything. So I was just wondering if Southern Maryland was one of those cities that you.
I would say so. If you could buy a house for 50,000, you can buy a house for 50,000. You want to make sure you can sell it for about, 125, 150 as the ARV. And if that's the ARV, then absolutely. Absolutely. And then it's supply and demand. You want to make sure that you're buying in areas where there's a demand, where there's buyers who want to buy and live in those areas. And if not, you don't want to buy a property, renovate it, and you don't have an end buyer that's going to want to buy the property.
Now, a lot of the homes that I was just speaking about in Southern Maryland with that price range, they also had, what's the name of the organization where they like oversee the properties in that community?
Co-ops? Co-ops?
Yeah, like co-ops or something, and they all had stipulations, whereas you gotta go through them, to get a
Co-op.
for the
Yeah,
house.
co-op. They buy the whole neighborhood. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've bought a co-op before, but I probably would stay away from those.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna find a targeted area. Then in that targeted area, you guys, you gotta find out what's your marketing strategy in that area. You're gonna go driving for dollars in that area. You're gonna send postcards to that neighborhood. You're gonna cold call a list in that area. You're gonna put up bandit signs in that area. What are you gonna do in those areas? What type of marketing strategy? And the marketing, you guys, the marketing is what's most important to your investing career. Because you can know everything there is to know about wholesaling, about flipping properties, about buying and holding. But if you don't have any deals, you're not going to be able to do that. And so you guys have to be marketers. You got to find deals. That's the most important part about investing. Dana said that he found deals, didn't know what he was doing, so he called me and he made money. But the most important piece to that is he found the deals. Then he was wise enough to call and get help. And you guys got to have that same mindset. On both of those properties, I think on both of those properties that he made over 100,000 a piece, he found those deals and then he called me. He found them and then he called me. So he knew what to do. But the most important piece was he was out hustling, finding deals. And he found those deals. Did you have a question?
I like that strategy because in my business, when we find these deals, we constantly making offers. If you can find it, you can find deals. But if you don't make offers on those deals, like I get it'd be 50,000 deals, and then you want to make offers on all those deals, and maybe out of those 50,000 leads, maybe out of maybe 2, 3, 4 of them, you might get they might accept your offer.
And see that's the ratio right there. And so that's the analytics, or what we call the KPIs. And so if you know that, then you know, okay, if it's every 50 offers I make, I'm going to get 1 or 2. Then you guys got to make those offers. You got to get to those numbers, and that's it. And so now, if he knows his numbers, his business is very predictable. He can tell me without a shadow of a doubt he's going to close 1 wholesale deal next month because all he has to do is go out there and make 50 offers. You'll get 1. And so you've got to do that. That's the work. When we talk about the work, that's the work. He's got to go out and make those deals and make those offers, and he's going to guarantee himself because the numbers say if I make X amount of deals, X amount of offers, I'm going to close at least 1 or 2 deals. Now we're predictable. And then now he says, okay, now I want to go from 1 or 2 to 3 or 4 deals a month. And so now he's got to turn those 50 offers into what? 100 offers, right? If that's the numbers.
And
So you gotta know your numbers. If not,
some of those deals not gonna be any, no good, some of them will be dead or cold.
right,
But get some.
Is there such thing as over offering? So let's say you make 50 offers and you think you're only gonna get 1 or 2, but what happens if you get 5 responses? I mean, can you back down a little bit?
No, you call Greg.
no, I have failed you guys. I have failed you guys. And you real new. You get 5 offers, you call me, we gonna make money on all 5 of those offers, on all 5 of those deals, okay? I feel like I should go home now. I feel like I failed you guys. If you get 5, that's a good thing. You're gonna make over $100,000, okay?
So you said like marketing strategies, I'm thinking like, soon, they're gonna start requiring a lot of these properties to have green requirements. And if your property is too old, a lot of people probably are gonna want to sell it because it's gonna cost them so much money to build their properties up for those requirements. So like, because when they start getting to the smart cities and the smart homes, and people who have older homes, it's gonna cost them a lot of money to bring it up to those regulations.
What was that name you used? What type of?
Smart cities, they're gonna start making green requirements. Green, yeah, I'm not gonna say that.
Okay, so I don't, so here's the thing, you guys. Real simple. We gotta go find some deals, okay? Let's just go find some deals. Let's not overthink it. Let's not have analysis paralysis. Let's not think about green or blue or black or purple. We're not thinking about that. We thinking about finding deals. Okay?
I find the deal, I can come to you for the money.
Yeah, find a deal. I got the money. But don't overthink that green thing, because if you do, it's gonna stop you. Now you got a barrier. You know, you already have a built-in objection in your head, which is gonna stop you from focusing on what you should be focusing on, which is finding deals. So that whole green thing, anybody else familiar with that? Keith, explain the green thing. I don't know. I know that like you could put a green mix in water and if you drink it, it's real healthy for you. Is that what you're referring to?
No, so I'm trying to explain it. So like when they have like smart meters and different things that they're requiring the new tenants to have, and if your house don't have it, then you're going to either have to update your property, or they're going to take it, or you have to sell it. It's going to require a lot of money. So I don't know if you see now they have those.
Dana,
they have the
can you
robots.
answer that, Dana?
No, I've never heard. I'm listening because I never heard.
Have you seen the thing where they have the robots that can build the houses in like 3 days?
Yeah, but you're going way into the future, though.
But I think it's going to be happening in the next 3 to 4 years.
You way over there.
Yeah.
we in the wrong lunch and learn.
Yeah, I'm saying people going to so somebody have a house that's like was made in 1960, but your house is only compatible at 1980. You know what I'm saying?
So you just call more absentee owners because they may not want to.
Yeah, they're not gonna want to. Yeah, they're not gonna want to do all that.
Don't think about that.
Yeah.
Put together a marketing strategy. Let's find deals.
Yeah.
All right. So let's find our targeted area. Let's do some marketing. Marketing is the key. Build a cash buyers list. We talked about that. Have a list. Put me on it, but have a list so that when you find a deal, you know who you're going to assign that contract to. Assemble a team. You got to have a team, and we have all that. Number one person you need on that team. Number one person, you guys, is a coach or a mentor. Coach or a mentor is going to minimize your mistakes for you and get you to your goals a lot faster. You need a coach or a mentor. If not, you're never live up to your fullest potential. Follow-up plays a major role in what we do. We like to say the fortune is in the follow-up. You can't call someone today, schedule an appointment, go to that appointment. You didn't get the deal. Those 50 that he talked about, we got one deal out of that. But for you, over a 4 or 5 month period, 6 month period, those other 49 that you did not get, 3 of them, if you do a good job following up, will turn into deals. You got to have a system. Now, we use PropStream. You guys write that down, propstream.com, as a CRM that's going to help you with the follow-up. He may only get 1 deal initially, but through a follow-up, he'll get another 3 or 4.
That's how I got the deal. And I suggest everybody in this room to go out. I like seniors, because, you know, like the ones that's going in nursing home, they can't live in their house. And probate, like you said, probate is definitely good. Those 2, those are those deals I closed on. Is seniors that's going in nursing homes. You know.
Seniors are good. We do go after that.
Because they old, they can't go up the steps no more, and they need that, you know, what's that ranch or 1-level house?
Yeah.
Or they can't take
Like
care
a
of
Rambler,
themselves
yeah.
anymore.
But I think the most important piece, and these guys can speak to it, we'll let Keith speak now, but having a coach or a mentor. Keith, why don't you talk about our coaching program?
First things, guys, make sure that you fill out your pink forms, okay? We're always curious to know about what content you guys want to know about, and so make sure you fill it out. But the coaching program, there's a lot of great conversation here, a lot of back and forth. I see a lot of people taking notes, but the thing is, what are you going to do with those notes? You need to be around like-minded people more than you are, and you have to do. You have to do more. I mean, you got to pick up that phone, call someone. You got to market yourself. Greg says marketing is important, but marketing is everything as a wholesaler. That's like the most important thing that you really got to know. So we do have a coaching program. You'll see it in your programs that you have at $3,500, but we're discounting it today to $2,500. So you may want to consider taking advantage of that. Also, I have a free one-on-one with you. We can set up a strategy session. Where are you now? If you're trying to get here, we can kind of define a way for you. So that's all I'll say for now, but I'll be here to talk, and we'd really like to help you. Greg wants to be a part of your success, and so.
Jay is one of our coaching students. Why don't you stand up, Jay, and talk to us about our coaching program?
I didn't know I was going to say anything. So I joined the coaching program probably about a year ago. So when Keith says it's important to be around like-minded people, I just want to tell you guys, I have very high standards, like very, very, very high. To say that I'm impressed in how life-changing the coaching program has been to me is an understatement. So started out as a real estate attorney, came back here, knew I wanted to retire eventually, and wanted to make real estate a part of that retirement program. Retirement plan. And so the coaching program, like I said, has been life-changing. So the first shuttle event, like Dana has talked about, I went to one of Iris's properties, one of my fellow investor assistant coaching program colleagues. And I was so inspired. She was on her 10th property. I was like, this is bomb. Like, I'm gonna be like Iris. So I literally asked her, I said, how'd you find the property? And she gave me the wholesaler that she found the property with. And the next month, I had a property under contract from that very same wholesaler the next block over, and they were coming to visit my property. Since then, I purchased probably in 6 months, probably 4 of them. I'm supposed to be wholesaling, but I'd like to hold on and keep all of them myself. When we leave here today, I'm gonna go see 3 other ones. Marketing strategies that I've learned from him. Have access to Keith, have access to all of my different colleagues. You know, we're gonna meet up after to talk with Karen about, for example, how she maneuvers and uses PropStream. Valerie, how she uses cold calling skills. So equally as important as having access to him, I have access to my peers who are going through this with me. I'm always here as a resource if you guys want to talk about my experience more in detail, but I'd highly recommend getting coached. I'd highly recommend it. It's worth the investment.
Thank you. You want a, you want a tuna fish sandwich or, an Italian? We're also hosting an all-day boot camp on August the 29th. It's a 2-day boot camp. April 20th, what did I say? Are you sure? I think I said April. Are you sure? Okay. April. And so we're having an all-day boot camp, and we're gonna have various speakers there. We're gonna really hone into what I call the KPIs and numbers that you need to really build a predictable real estate investment business. We'll have a number of our wholesalers there. We'll have lenders there. We'll have some people who will talk to you about being your own bank. A lot of it, we'll have some group sessions. Day 2, which is optional, we talked about being out in the field and shadow events and things like that. Day 2, we'll be out in the field looking at properties. And then we'll conclude day 2 with a luncheon, a networking luncheon at a restaurant that we'll choose. So if you're interested in our boot camp, it's on page 4 in your handout. It's very, very inexpensive. It would be a good way for you guys to start off investing, getting more information. To me, this, like they said, is life-changing. It was life-changing for me many, many years ago when I started buying and holding, and it continues to be life-changing. And so come to our boot camp, get the information, and let's make this year one of our best years ever.
Greg, let me just say this too. If you guys are interested today in signing up for either the Platinum Coaching or the boot camp, Haley and Jabari in the back can take your credit card today.
Raise your hands, you guys. And that's Beverly Bennett in the back. Raise your hand, Beverly. Hey. That's little Beverly. That's my daughter.
What location is this gonna be at?
It's at the Greenbelt Marriott.
Okay.
Marriott.
I'm sorry, Martin's Crosswinds. I always say Greenbelt Marriott. It's at Martin's Crosswinds. I just did that for Harry to correct me. All right, you guys, any last words? What advice would you guys give these guys as wholesaling, getting into real estate investing? What advice would you guys give?
That's what you really want to do. I follow Greg's the last advice I got from him was become obsessed. Become obsessed with what you're doing. Go out.
That's good advice. You want to get obsessed with being great, with greatness, and living up to your fullest potential. I'm actually going to a boot camp myself because I want to take my own business to a whole nother level. And so getting coaching, getting the information is what's most important. And so you do want to be obsessed with it, because for many of us, this not only is this life-changing for us, it's life-changing for your whole family. And everything that we're learning, teaching is not just for you, it's for your children, your children's children, your siblings, everybody around you. Lorraine?
I would say one of the advices that I would give is to stay close to Keith, because I have done several wholesale projects, and initially I was so fearful to do it, although I was a real estate agent for 18 years. But Keith, I called him every morning, all the night, all through the day, and he just encouraged me to just continue to do what I know how to do well and speak well, and I became successful. So coaching is really a key to the success, because as mentioned, I was an agent and I am an agent at that time, maybe 15 years in the game. So, it's always good to be coached. I feel Michael Jordan is coached. Why not get coached?
Absolutely. Dana?
I would say anyone who, and not even as far as want to be financially free, which this can definitely make you financially free, but anybody who thinks they have a financial need. In this world, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, what's around the corner. Things are constantly changing. So I would definitely say invest in yourself and get into the program and make it work. They're going to hold you by your hand. Speaking to Keith, I'm glad you brought Keith up because it's been times where I've been kind of slothful and Keith will get on me like a drill sergeant. I mean, that's just about his relationship with me. He doesn't handle everybody the same way, but he'll push me. He's pushed me into success. You know, he'll make me push me out the box, and he'll make me force me, yell at me to do things, and that's
He yelled at you?
Well, that's our relationship, though. That's his kind of relationship.
No yelling.
He's
No
allowed.
yelling.
Keith is allowed to yell at me. I gave permission. So because it helps me, it motivates me, and he knows if you're his student, he's going to know who he's dealing with. He deals with everybody individually, and he deals with me in the way I need to be dealt with, and it's helped me a lot. So I would say definitely, if you think that this is what you want to do, then do it, because fear can set in, and you can wait and put it off and procrastinate, and next year you'll be in the same spot, where the person sitting next to you right now be sitting up here talking about what success they've had.
Good point, Dana. Well said, Dana.
Well said.
And so speaking of, you never know what can happen. I got a phone call this morning from the daughter of one of my real estate agents. And she called me from her mother's phone. And so I answered the phone and called out her name. And she said, no, this is her daughter. She just passed away yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And this is an agent that has been with me, I want to say 10 years, but maybe a little less than 10 years. And it really hurt me to my heart. And it just had me thinking about, first thing I thought about was, insurance. Did she have insurance? Because, part of the conversation was who's going to handle her next few deals. And so at the boot camp, we are going to talk about infinite banking, being your own bank, building cash value out of your insurance policies. But one thing that I want to convey to you guys is make sure you're protected because you never know what can happen. And so we have some of our big life insurance agents. I'd like for you guys to stand up. Doris and Sylvia and Michelle is here. Vaughn is here. If you guys are interested in, and I see Wendell in the back, if you guys are interested in, at the very least, getting, if you have a policy, getting a policy review, or to talk to one of these guys about getting insured, or how to build wealth through a cash value policy, talk to these guys. These guys will be here, during the lunch period, and get yourself protected, because what they implied to me this morning, I think they called Keith too, was that they weren't insured, that they needed money. And so we have a responsibility, for ourselves, but also for our families to get protected. But insurance is just not for protection, it's to build wealth. And we build wealth inside of a cash value policy, a universal life policy, or a whole life policy. We can build wealth. But not only that, we talk about when we reach other levels of real estate investing, we talk about private lenders and things like that, hard money lenders. Through your cash value, my daughter Beverly there, she's got about $40,000 in her cash value account. She's got what's called an IUL, Index Universal Life Policy, that I took out over 10 years ago. That's compounded, it's built up to the point where I didn't need that money for college. But now she's already bought her first house. She's going to buy her second house this year, and she's going to use the cash value from her IUL, and she's going to pull that money out tax-free. She's going to take a loan from herself, pull it out tax-free, buy a house, renovate that house. She's going to rent that house out. She's going to refinance and pay her cash value account back. And that's going to keep growing until she buys, another property. And she's going to do the same thing. And she's going to be her own bank just from her insurance policy. And then you guys need to do that as well. And so these guys can help you guys. You got a question?
How long did it take to contribute to that?
And so it's going to depend. I'll tell you for her, but it depends on your age. It depends on how much you contribute. If you overfund the account, starting off, it's going to depend on, your health conditions. And so for her, it took about 10 years because I don't spend a lot of money on the monthly premiums because she was so young when I took it out. You guys would probably, in order to do that for yourself, put more money in. I didn't do what's called overfunding. So I never overfunded her account. You can overfund it, meaning putting more money in. And all that is tax-free money. And then for those of you who need to supplement your retirement, these policies can supplement your retirement where you'll have a tax-free retirement. And the last thing is it's the new insurance. There's the old insurance and the new insurance. The new insurance has what's called living benefits. And where while you're living, because we get sick before we die, and you could have a critical, chronic, or terminal illness, and the policies can pay for those things while you're still living. Long-term care, all those kinds of things. So talk to these guys when we're finished. Any other questions, you guys? Go ahead.
I looked at your pamphlet that you gave out, and on 430, you have a house tour.
For the boot camp.
Yeah. What all does that entail? If I gave you the 125 for this house tour, what all could I expect from this tour?
Good question. And so we're going to tour. I don't have the houses yet. I'll decide when it gets closer. We're either going to tour some of our students' properties, and they're going to tell the story of how they found these properties, what they paid for it, what the cost of renovation, what their strategy is for the property, whether they're going to buy and hold it or fix and flip it, who financed the property, all those types of things. And we may go to one of my properties. We may also do I haven't decided yet, like a foreclosure tour, where I'm going to give one of the tours that Dana went on and actually bought a property. It was a foreclosure tour where we toured 3 properties, I believe all in DC, and they were real life opportunities to buy. And he actually bid it on one and actually bought it. And he's holding that property. He's gone through the whole process. You have veterans in that property. And so instead of what I recommend is having Section 8 tenants, he's going through the veteran program where he has veterans in his. And so he's getting maximum dollars for rentals. And so we'll either do a foreclosure tour or we'll tour some of the students. Was it last week that we did it? Or a week before last? 2 weeks ago, we toured, I think 2 of Jay's properties and one of Shalene, another coaching student's property. And so that's what it's going to consist of. We're going to go over repair costs. We're going to say, okay, these recessed lighting is going to cost X amount. These windows are $300 a window. And so we're going to go over repair costs so you get used to those numbers. And so you're going to be able to ask real life questions. You're going to be right there to ask the questions and actually, paint color, the quality of the finishes for the renovation, what level of renovations we do per property. You're going to be able to ask all those kind of questions.
And how many hours does it last?
It's about 3 hours. Between it'll take about 2 hours to tour 3 properties, and then we'll go to lunch. Last time we went to Little Italy in Baltimore. We had like a private section, and we did a lot. We ate lunch. It's like a 3-course meal, wasn't it? Like a 3-course meal, and then we did a networking session, and we went over what we saw for the day.
If I could say those, what we call shadow events, are good because it familiarizes you with the process. Because otherwise, coming in, you just don't have an idea of what goes on. It's important that you have an idea of what goes on, so you can, So
you're actually out in the field.
Right.
And so part of our coaching program, we actually do that once a month. We're adding that to our boot camp. But part of our coaching program, we do that once a month. So we're inside. Sometimes we're actually in here. Or virtually, we'll do a mastermind once a month. Then you have a lot of one-on-ones with Keith. Every Tuesday, we have a Q&A section every Tuesday, part of coaching. But then we do the shadow event out in the field. You guys got to go out in the field and see what what, real life properties look like, the type of properties that we're buying, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, OJT is good. I like it. Really good.
So on this, the early bird special for Saturday and Sunday, or you have to pay for it separate?
There's, I think separate is $325. The $325. It's, $325 is part of the early bird session. That's where you get the booth, you get both the shadow event and Saturday.
Also, the 245 just for one day.
Right. The 225 is just for one day.
Okay.
And then Harry's in the back. Any other questions, you guys?
How long is this program, the Finance Coaching Program?
It's
What's the
six-
length of that program?
It's 6 months,
6 months.
and then you can extend. Anything else, you guys? Well, I'd like to thank you guys for being here. Hopefully, we spent about almost 2 hours in here. Hopefully, you guys will take this information and take action. Get the guidance that you need to make a difference in your life. There's a lot of our coaching students that have taken action. This gentleman and a few others have taken action. And you got to take a leap of faith. But know through real estate investing, you can change your life. I see that, some of you guys are here with other people. You can change each other's lives and change your family's lives as well. Like a lot of us have. So thank you guys so much. We've got sandwiches in the back, and hopefully we'll talk to you guys soon. Fill out these forms right here. Yeah, put them in the back. Fill out these forms right here.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, baby.
I'd like to thank my esteemed guests, my panelists. I know.
That's the hard part. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I wasn't sitting with you.
How you doing, man? Here's my card, man. Give me a call. Set up something, yeah.
What type of freedom financing? You turned that off already?
Yeah.
So is it owner financing or is it subject to?